Hello everyone, welcome to the 𝐼𝐧𝐬𝐭𝐭𝐞𝐫 episode 102. In this section, we're going to be discussing what we believe the beginning, end, and the overall story of Breath of the Wild 2 is. How we think it's going to start, how we think the events are going to unfold, and how it could possibly end. We have two guests here with us. We have MoChocolate.
Hi everybody. Thank you again for inviting me, Jess.
And you're welcome. And we have our special guest who's here for the first time, but he's been on a bunch of other videos in the past. Welcome, HMK.
Hey, what's good, everybody? I hope you guys are ready for some Breath of the Wild 2 talk.
Yes.
And Jesse, thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, man, it's honestly a pleasure. Like, as I said earlier, if I didn't want you on here, or like, you know, sometimes people request people and you're like, I don't know that person, but I guess I'll bring them on. And then like, you know, there's nothing to be said. The conversation's over in 30 minutes, and it's like, that was dumb. But like, sometimes it gets like this, to where you actually enjoy talking to the person, and you want to keep it going. That's why it took us 2 hours to get through the first segment.
But
with this, you being, I'm so sorry, because your video's not there. The Geek Apprentice, co-host of the 𝐼𝐧𝐬𝐭𝐭𝐞𝐫.
It's okay, they know who I am.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So,
like, they know.
Yeah, they know.
They hear me laugh at weird points.
Yeah, 𝐓𝐰𝐲𝐻 or Kayla and Daniel or Capt Bergerson aren't here today. They're busy and sick or whatever. They're off exploring their own adventures. So
it's true. One of them has the flu.
Yeah, our special guest here, HMK. Everyone needs to go out and check out your own Zelda Breath of the Wild videos. So, to start out, Breath of the Wild 2, when the game begins, the original, it begins with, you know, Link, wake up, he gets out of the waterbed, whatever.
Pretty much.
Yeah. How do you think Breath of the Wild 2 will begin? Like, the cutscene, like, is it gonna start off like directly where Breath of the Wild finishes, to where Princess Zelda's like, oh, we need to go check on the whatever, and
Vah-Ruta.
Vah-Ruta is like messing up, having 𝐿𝐳 with $18.90.
Oh my god.
Is there anything you
know
know
Breath of the
about
Wild 2 that I can't share?
Actually, I do.
What?
Stuff and things.
So
great. Now you open up a kind of worm that you're gonna have to try and get yourself out of.
Uh-oh.
I spoke without talking.
I spoke without talking.
Nothing.
Okay.
Quote of 2020.
We have a guest coming on next week that was part of the making of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and you can ask him some questions when we interview him. That's all I can
I know what you're
say
talking
for now.
about. Okay.
Don't give it away.
I won't.
No, so no. Okay.
But
HMK, go
yeah.
ahead. How do you think it's gonna?
When it comes to the beginning of Breath of the Wild 2, I really think it's gonna follow the trailer. You know, I feel that's a really good point in you know, opening up the game in relation to the first game, because it like, once it starts like that, it will give us it'll give the viewers, the players, reason to like, hey, listen, what happened between whatever time gap between Breath of the Wild 1 and Breath of the Wild 2 happened. So after the game opens up again, you want to go back to all those old areas, see how Hyrule has changed between the two times and whatever. And I feel the way it's going to begin is that Link and Zelda are going to be underground looking for something, and that something turns out to be Ganondorf's corpse. And why they're looking for that something? Because, you know, in the trailer we heard, I would say, a very weird song. And I had a theory a while ago about that, about who was ever singing that song could be Fi, whatever. the spirit within the Master Sword that we know.
Sorry to interrupt. Does she sing when she dances in Skyward Sword?
Yeah.
Okay, I forgot. I didn't know.
Yeah. So she's singing to Zelda or Link, letting them know there's something bad about to go down, and they're gonna have to go and look for it, right? And I feel that going down into the earth on the way to Ganondorf's corpse, certain context will be filled up on why they're there, how they got there, what has happened between the two games leading up to finding Ganondorf's corpse, and then everything hits the fan, and then of course that's how the game is going to begin in my opinion. And that once Ganondorf wakes up, there's going to be a huge cave in and stuff that's going to separate you from Zelda, and then that's literally you in the beginning of the game trying to figure out how to get out of the caverns back to the surface, kind of how you have to figure out how to get off the Great Plateau onto the lower world of Hyrule. That's going to be how the game begins, like you getting out in the cave, and then as soon as you get out and the light shines and you're back on the surface of Hyrule, Breath of the Wild 2, and then go.
That's
what I think. Yeah.
So to add to that, there's a lot of people that want like actual dungeons and temples to return.
Yes.
But there's a lot of people
Yes.
like, oh, that's impossible. Like, where would they be?
it's
Like
not.
we already seen it.
Where would they be?
No.
Where would they be?
Here's the thing. I made a video about this. Like, it's literally the easiest answer in the world. What happens when you first start Breath of the Wild? You go to the pedestal, put your Sheikah slate on it. All of a sudden, these giant towers that nobody knew were there just pop up out of the ground from nowhere. There's just giant Sheikah Towers. They've been there the whole time. And then during the DLC, what happens? Like, you go to the next pedestal and do whatever, and then all of a sudden there's new shrines that just rise up out of the ground from nowhere as if they were there the whole time. Literally coming out of the ground. A creative way they could do it is when the castle rises, Ganondorf makes it causes like an earthquake or something, and maybe like some ice falls down or whatever and reveals another cavern. Like when you have to go to the bones of the Leviathan.
The Leviathans, yeah.
Yeah, and there's like the shrine or whatever down there. Maybe another one opens up, but then that cave, like where the avalanche comes, but that one leads to like maybe an ice dungeon or something. And then yes, sir.
I'm gonna let you continue. There's an easy way to do this, but go ahead.
No, okay. I was gonna say, like in what was it? Skyward Sword, like, and some of the fire temples are like literally built into the mountains, and you could easily, like, now that they don't have to worry about, evil people attacking them, like I can't believe I forgot it. The Ganon. Oh, Holly, what? $69.99. Thank you, Holly. Breath of the Wild is going to be a sexy game. That is all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
69 lol.
Thank you.
69.
So, like, they have the temples that are, like, built into the thing. And, like, we see in Twilight Princess, there's the giant Goron that's, like, trying to break down the rock wall so you can get to the next area. I think it'll be something like that, to where, like, the fire temple was always there. But now there's now that the Gorons don't have to worry about anything, they can finally, like, get back to their temple. So, like, you go and maybe, like, you have to do a quest, and then they finally open up this crater. And then once you open the crater, there's the door, like in Skyward Sword or whatever, and you can just go into the fire temple or the earth temple or whatever it is. And then, where's the water temple? Like, the water temple wasn't there in Breath of the Wild. It's like, well, yeah, it could have been if we had underwater exploration. And now that we do have underwater exploration, most likely in Breath of the Wild 2, you can just go to the bottom of Lake Hylia, like you always have, and it'll just have been there the entire time. And I think that's how they're going to do it, to where, like, these dungeons, like, they're not going to add new locations where these dungeons are going to be. There might be new locations, but I think these dungeons and temples are just going to be there. They were just hidden, not accessible before. But the world's going to, like, slightly change, or stuff's going to happen to where now they are accessible. or they could literally rise up out of the ground like some of the shrines did. Now, but that was my idea to add on to how you opened up yours. But please continue with
Jesse,
your simpler one.
Here we go.
Yes, sir.
Here we go.
Yes, sir.
How are you gonna build on top of Breath of the Wild? Where are the dungeons gonna be? We already know the overworld. Now we just need that. This is the overworld of Hyrule. Double that for the underground.
Yeah. So there's
all the dungeons are gonna be
Yes.
underground. And get this, just get this. The Sheikah Towers. The Sheikah Towers.
Yes.
They're not towers. They're elevators.
Oh.
Oh yeah. That would be cool.
Lead you down into specific parts of Hyrule scattered around. And you know the biggest playmaker to that? The Gerudo Tower. That is literally in a crevice. They will lead you down to segregated parts of the underground of Hyrule to explore and find these dungeons.
Nintendo, hire this man!
All right. So something about that. I have heard, because whenever this video posts on the edited version, I know there's going to be a lot of people like, they wouldn't put dungeons underground, blah, blah, blah.
Oh my god.
There's a lot of
Those
dungeons
people.
that's already been underground. Like we just talked about, like the water temple in most Zelda games. You literally have to go under the water to the dungeon, and then it just goes lower from there. The Shadow Temple in Ocarina of Time, it's like built into like the wall, like the rock wall or whatever it is, and then you have to go through there. Most of the dungeons are already, like, a few of them are built outside, like castles or actual temples. Like the Forest Temple is like a giant house, and then Stone Tower Temple and stuff like that. But a lot of the dungeons are like actually built into the world, so it does make sense. And there has been a Zelda game already where you go underground. Like a lot of games have their second world, to where it's like Hyrule and Lowrule, or Hyrule and the Dark World, Hyrule and the Silent Realm in Skyward Sword.
Yeah.
Twilight Princess had the Twilight Realm that was taking over Hyrule, and then they had the official Twilight Realm. Ocarina of Time had the past and the future. Breath of the Wild 2 could have the underworld, but a lot of people think that Nintendo wouldn't do that. It's a stupid idea. Why would everything be underground? That's just a cop-out. They already did it with Subrosia. That was a land that was underground in one of the Oracle games, I think. But it was Subrosia, and it had like a darkish red color. But yeah. So, and then that would also make sense to why all of the mini dungeons or shrines were also underground. I've never heard that idea for the elevator before.
I like that.
How it could like come up and sink back down.
Right. Because they like, when you look at them, it's like, you know, the platform down. That's it.
That's genius. So what do you think the overarching story is going to be? Because a little plug for some people if they want to check it out. You have I don't know if you would call it a theory video or just an idea.
Idea speculation video.
He has an awesome video from his idea of a Breath of the Wild trilogy, which would be amazing, because Nintendo's never really done. They don't often do a direct sequel to the past game and name it too.
Right.
Like they had Zelda 1 and Zelda 2, and then the only other time that they've actually had like Breath of the Wild 1 and then Breath of the Wild 2 was with A Link to the Past.
Right.
But then
because in Japan it was called Triforce of the Gods 1 and Triforce 2.
Yeah.
And it's the only time they've ever done that. But with Breath of the Wild 2, it's like they've gone back to the numbering thing. So like it is possible that you could get a Breath of the Wild 3. But anyways, what do you think the overarching story is going to be? Like Ganon escaping, what's going to happen?
I think the overarching story is going to be it's not the story itself won't be too simple, but the story premise of what we can expect is going to be simple. Because, ladies and gentlemen, Ganondorf is back after more than 10 years.
Yes.
After more than 10 years of being nowhere. And we all know Ganondorf is only after one thing. and that is the Triforce, which was also missing from Breath of the Wild, from the first Breath of the Wild. Yes, I understand the power with the Triforce mark on Zelda's hand. Whatever, you know, the Triforce has not been named. It was not a huge thing to find or to look for within Breath of the Wild 1. Those are the two components missing from Breath of the Wild: the Ganondorf and the Triforce. What's going to be the overarching story in Breath of the Wild 2? Ganondorf is back. He only wants one thing: the search for the Triforce continues once again. And I feel that I feel that's how Zelda's gonna come into play. That he's gonna just, you know, he's gonna revive himself. He's gonna grab her. I'm like, all right, princess, you're gonna take me to the Triforce, and you're gonna take me now. And then that's gonna be the overarching story of, you know, a race against time against Ganondorf, trying to find all pieces of the Triforce, if it's in pieces or whatever, or trying to stop him or gain enough power to, you know, stand against him if you were to get all three pieces of the Triforce. But that's gonna be, I feel that's gonna be the overarching story for Breath of the Wild 2. And Ganondorf's return and the return of the search for the Triforce.
I can't wait to see that new design they're going to give him. It's going to look amazing.
Yes,
I can't wait. Yep.
I love their new designs.
Oh,
I love how like half of us when we saw the trailer were all like, her hair is short. Like,
right?
how do you not notice that?
That short hair was wild.
What I would love is if they did what they did with Pokemon Gold and Silver, where you go to a new area, but you can still go back and revisit old areas and see how much better or different they've gotten. I would love that.
That would be really cool to see what kind of, like, you know, how Hyrule has changed over all this time. You know, see how these people grew up. If the towns got rebuilt bigger, if they were able to recapture the Hateno Fortress and stuff, and all these other things to see, not the Hateno Fortress, the Akkala Citadel, to see if they recaptured that. You know, I would love to see how the world has tried to evolve after the fall of Calamity Ganon, and now they're gonna have to deal with Calamity Ganondorf, which is gonna be fun. You know.
Do you guys think if you have a save file of Breath of the Wild that all your armor, your weapons,
No.
Okay, transferred over. Okay, that'd be
I think you might get a perk, but not everything. You know, I feel that's a little too ambitious for Nintendo's take. I know they've done that for games like Mass Effect, but nah. Especially if we're gonna be getting new gameplay elements. That Aonuma did confirm that we're gonna be getting new gameplay elements in a familiar world. I don't think, you know, you'll get all your armor and weapons back or anything like that, especially if they're going to do away with breakable weapons, because I know that was just a huge complaint in the first game.
I didn't like it.
And, I think that's going to be the thing.
I think
Speaking of, someone brought this up in chat, and assuming they go this direction again, which I kind of hope they do, I want to know who re-dead, mummified Ganondorf's voice actor is.
Ooh. Paul St. Peter.
Yes, I agree. What he said. Yes, what he said.
Now, who's that? Who's that?
Okay, so he voices Xemnas in the Kingdom Hearts series, but for other things, he voices Kurama from Naruto in English. He voices Yami from Bleach in English. He voices Leomon, Warmon, and Deoboromon from Digimon. And he also voices...
He's the man.
Yeah, he also is the announcer for Soul Calibur 5 and 6. He's the announcer for Soul Calibur. He's the guy who's like, Soul Calibur.
Yeah, his voice, man. I want to hear him order McDonald's with that Xemnas voice.
Yeah,
be hilarious.
So,
no pickles, please.
Yeah.
Like
I would love that.
Well, I don't know if you guys talked about it when I was gone, but earlier, one of my friends, Cliff, a lot of the people watching the video in the community know who he is, but he was talking about the land area that's like off to the side, that there's like a valley that you have to cross to.
Yep.
People have hacked the game to where like they can get over there on the like the emulated version and stuff.
Oh,
right. And but I'm pretty sure they fall through, don't they?
No. There's like some houses and stuff that are built there as if they used it as like sort of a test area or something.
I know. Yeah, I know the area, the same area where they're stuff.
Sorry, you cut out there.
House. It's the same area that I remember that Nintendo was testing on that area to see if they were going to put Minish in the game, and like these little small and bigger houses and stuff. Yeah, I know.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so that's also something that a lot of people haven't talked about a lot, or that I haven't seen at least, is that they announced that Breath of the Wild 2, which I don't know if this is necessarily true or not. They could have had the idea to make 2 2 from the beginning and realized like it's just going to be such a huge story. But what was it? They said Breath of the Wild 2 came about because when they were making DLC for Breath of the Wild, they had too many ideas. So they wanted to bring it over to create its own game with its own story and everything. And I think maybe that could have been like for the DLC, they wanted to add human Ganondorf to the game. But then they thought, no, that we don't want to waste that on a small story. So let's just use it for the like its own game and like build around it. And a lot of the DLC, which again they said the game Breath of the Wild 2 was built upon the DLC the DLC that they just had too much in there. And a lot of the DLC actually came from ideas and concepts that they left out of the original game. Like we seen Link on the motorcycle in like concept art and stuff. And then there's the floating island with a figure on top that looks sort of like Ganondorf standing on top of like a floating island.
Yeah.
And it's like similar to the scene. So a lot of the other cut content from the game, some of which they actually did make, like HMK referenced the Minish were supposed to be in the game, and they still could be, because like it's one of those things is like it could have been there the entire time because the Minish can only be seen by certain people. So maybe it's just like, oh, now that Calamity Ganondorf's gone, we can be safe, so we will show ourselves to everyone. And then now suddenly like you see Minish everywhere instead of finding Koroks. It could be, I don't know, it could be something like that.
That's a good idea, yeah.
But what was it? So some of the concept art from like the Minish cap, and then even like that alien thing that they made, where like they said someone had an idea of aliens, and then Aonuma was just like, okay, we'll just go with it for a week and show me what you have. And then they showed it off, and it was just like the lasers shooting down, Link running away from the spaceship and stuff. And they could bring some of that back because they have had aliens in the past, but it was just like the
very small within Majora's Mask. Yep.
Yeah. What was it called? The others, or the something?
The what? I didn't know what they called them, but Romani was all like, oh, they down on a phone ball, like try to steal the cows, whatever.
So that's the. I think they could bring some of that back. So if you want to know what could possibly be in Breath of the Wild 2, I would say look at the Creating a Champion book, because it has a lot of the DLC that was taken out of the original game, or it has a lot of concepts that they turned into DLC. And since Breath of the Wild 2 came from DLC that they wanted to put in, then I think there's not all of it, but I think some of the stuff in there is going to make an appearance in Breath of the Wild 2. Like, there's the underwater suit that Link has, but I think they're just going to use a normal, like, Zora tunic or something. Or, like, maybe it gets blessed, and then now Link can breathe underwater, so that allows him to start diving. It could be something like that, I don't know. But I think those... Like, if you want some ideas and stuff, go look at that book, because it does have a lot of stuff that they've already shown.
Oh,
like
man,
the
that
floating
book
island
is so good.
and stuff.
Yeah, the fucking... sorry.
And they show off... there was originally the Kokiri champion instead of...
Yeah, I'm so mad about that. I'm mad. I'm actually legit mad.
Do you remember why they left the Kokiri out?
Not exactly, but like they were just saying that within development, if I'm remembering from the book correctly, they were saying, within development, eventually we can settle on the idea to have Rito represented in the game. And they said, I feel they said that like it'll be too confusing to have Kokiri and Koroks in the same game. I'm like, oh great, but you have Rito and Zora in the same game, so whatever.
Yeah.
So the other thing to go along with that is that originally they were gonna instead of finding Koroks everywhere.
Hey everyone, it's me again, 𝐼𝐧𝐬𝐢𝐳. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching this video. And you know what? If you're a fan of videos like this, you should totally subscribe and give this video a like and comment below to let us know what type of videos you would like to see us create in the future. And if you would really like to support all of us here at the Game Over Jessie channel, please consider purchasing a Game Over Jessie t-shirt or becoming a Patreon at patreon.com/GameOverJessie, where you can receive many rewards, such as getting shoutouts, having any topic or theory that you select discussed on the podcast or made into its own video, having your question answered, joining on as a guest on the podcast, and playing with us during our Twitch live streams at twitch.tv/GameOverJessie, and much, much more.